The warning came through every communication channel in the galaxy simultaneously, a cascade of terror that rippled across star systems like wildfire. The Devourers had awakened. Ambassador Zethkar of the Altarian Federation watched the holographic display with mounting dread as evacuation ships launched from 1,000 worlds. His elongated fingers trembled against the control panel as reports flooded in. The crystalline collective had already begun their exodus to the void between. The gas-dwelling Nephilim were retreating to their deepest atmospheric layers, and even the warrior-proud Korthak had abandoned their border worlds without firing a single shot. "They're coming," whispered his aide, her voice barely audible above the chaos of the command center. "The estimates show they'll reach the core systems within 72 standard hours." Zethkar nodded grimly. The Devourers, ancient machines of unknown origin that had slumbered for 10,000 years, consumed everything in their path. Matter, energy, even the quantum foam of space itself fed their endless hunger. No weapon had ever scratched their hulls. No shield had ever slowed their advance. "What of the humans?" Zethkar asked, though he dreaded the answer. His aide consulted her datapad, confusion creasing her features. "Sir, they're not evacuating." "What do you mean?" "I mean they're mobilizing their fleets. Every ship, every station, every defense platform. They're moving toward the Devourer's projected path." Zethkar stared at the display in disbelief. The human territories glowed red on the tactical map, not with the crimson of evacuation protocols, but with the angry scarlet of full military deployment. While every other civilization in the galaxy fled to safety, humanity was doing the impossible. They were charging headlong into oblivion. 3 systems away, Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UES Indomitable, humanity's flagship and the largest vessel ever constructed by their species. Around her, the command crew worked with quiet efficiency, their faces grim but determined. Through the viewport, she could see the assembled might of humanity's navy, 12,000 ships of every class, from massive dreadnoughts to nimble fighters. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "long-range sensors are picking up the Devourer Vanguard. ETA to intercept, 18 hours. Chen nodded. "Signal the fleet. All ships are to maintain formation until we reach the Helix Nebula. Then we execute Operation Last Stand." Her communications officer, a young lieutenant whose hands shook slightly as he worked, looked up. "Admiral, we're receiving transmission requests from, well, everyone, the Altarians, the Vecthari, the Hive Queens. They're all asking the same thing." "Which is? Why aren't we running?" Chen allowed herself a small smile. It was a fair question. By every tactical analysis, every strategic projection, this was suicide. The Devourers had never been stopped, never even slowed. They were entropy given form, the heat death of the universe made manifest. But that was precisely why humanity couldn't run. "Open a channel to the galactic emergency frequency," Chen ordered. The view screen flickered to life, showing her image being broadcast across hundreds of worlds. In the background, evacuation ships continued their frantic exodus, but she could see that some had slowed, their crews listening. "To all species of the galactic community," Chen began, her voice steady and clear, "you have asked why humanity stands when wisdom demands retreat. The answer is simple: because someone must." She gestured to the stars beyond her ship. "For 10,000 years we have all prospered in the light of civilization. We have built wonders, created art, loved and dreamed. The Devourers would end all of that, not just for us, but for those who will come after. Our children, your children, species yet unborn who will never have the chance to see the galaxy as we have seen it." The transmission continued across the void, reaching fleeing ships and hidden bunkers alike. "Humanity has a saying," Chen continued. "Someone has to hold the line. Today, that someone is us. Not because we believe we can win, the odds make victory unlikely, but because the attempt itself has meaning, because there are things worth fighting for even when fighting seems futile." 18 hours later, the two forces met in the Helix Nebula. The Devourers came as they always had, a writhing mass of impossible geometry, vessels that hurt to look at directly, their hulls seeming to devour light itself. They moved with predatory grace through the cosmic gas clouds, reality bending around them like water around a stone. Humanity met them with everything they had. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever witnessed. Human ships darted between the nebula's formations, Using the ionized gas as cover while they launched desperate attacks, they employed tactics that bordered on madness. Kamikaze runs, improvised weapons, strategies that sacrificed entire squadrons to achieve minimal damage. And somehow, impossibly, it worked. Not victory, that was never the goal. But for the first time in galactic history, the Devourers slowed. Human ships equipped with experimental weapons that channeled the nebula's energy managed to damage their hulls. The ancient machines, perhaps surprised by the ferocity of resistance, began to adapt their formations. Admiral Chen watched from her command chair as the Indomitable's hull buckled under impossible forces. Half her fleet was gone, but the Devourers had lost 3 of their own vessels, the first confirmed kills in recorded history. "Admiral," her tactical officer called out, his voice tight with amazement. "Sensors are picking up new contacts. Multiple fleets, all vectors." On the display, Chen watched as ships began emerging from hyperspace. Altarian cruisers, Vecthari destroyers. Even the proud Korthak had returned, their war songs echoing across communication channels. "This is Fleet Admiral Zethkar to Admiral Chen," came a familiar voice. "The Altarian Federation requests permission to join the battle line." Chen felt tears threatening to blur her vision. "Permission granted, Admiral. Welcome to the fight. You showed us something we had forgotten," Zethkar continued, "that there are fates worse than death. That some things are worth dying for." The battle raged for 3 more days. When it ended, the Devourer fleet was scattered, their advance halted for the first time in 10 millennia. The cost was enormous, thousands of ships lost, millions of lives sacrificed. But the galaxy endured. In the aftermath, as rescue ships searched the debris fields and the wounded were tended to, Ambassador Zethkar found himself aboard the heavily damaged Indomitable. Admiral Chen, her arm in a sling and her uniform singed, stood beside him on the observation deck. "Why?" he asked quietly. "We all know this was just one fleet. There are others. This victory bought us time, nothing more." Chen looked out at the stars where repair crews worked to restore damaged vessels and where memorials would soon honor the fallen. "Time is everything," she said simply. "Time to prepare. Time to learn. Time to find a better way." She turned to him with a slight smile. "And time to remember that when the darkness comes, someone has to light a candle, even if it burns out." "Especially then," Chen replied, "because others might see the flame and light their own." Zethkar nodded slowly, understanding at last why humanity had earned something that day that no amount of technology or wisdom could provide: the respect of the galaxy. Not for their strength, but for their refusal to surrender hope when hope seemed lost. When every other species fled, humanity remained and fought, and in doing so, they had reminded the galaxy what it meant to be alive.